Open heart, open mind. Welcome to the Sattva channel, the official online platform of the Sattva project. First of all, on behalf of the Sattva project, I would like to express our thankfulness to our StreamYard sponsor and media partners, Durian ASEAN and Durian FM. And not to forget also the important man behind the scene, our broadcast director, Brother Ray. Um, Thank you very much for your generous contributions and kind efforts. Hi, Brother Ray. Would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hi, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Please like and share this video with more people. If you are watching this later on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel, like, and share the video. Now back to you.
Thank you, Brother Ray. Today we'll be discussing about mistaken views and misconceptions of merit making and misconceptions of merit making under the mistaken views and misconceptions about Buddhism. So first of all, I will introduce myself. I'm Ram. I'll be kind of the dialogue coordinator of the Sattva discussion today. I'm under the Sattva Youth project, and I came from the IT background, from consultation. I used to work in the West as well as here in the East. I'm based in Bangkok currently, and I have facilitated a few programs here and there, and I'm glad to be contributing my skills to this Sattva project. Thank you. Our honorable speaker today is one of them is Dr. Giuliano. He has a PhD in Indological Studies from University of Turin, with a Master of Arts in Indian Religions and Philosophies from La Sapienza University of Rome. Lecturer at the International PhD Program in Textual Buddhist Studies from Mahidol University. Translator and lecturer at the Fondazione Maitreya Project. Welcome, Dr. Giuliano.
Hi, Ram.
Hello. And our next honorable participant is Ajahn Bibek Sharma. He was born in Nepal, finished his Bachelor's of Arts in Buddhist Studies in International Buddhist College in Thailand. Further, he completed his Master's of Arts in Buddhist Studies in Foguang University in Taiwan, where he learned classical Buddhist Chinese and translated a correspondence between Kumarajiva and Hu Yuan to complete his Master's of Art thesis. For PhD, he has joined Mahidol University, where he is currently working on Yashomitra's Abhidharma Kosha Vyakya, Abhidharma Kosha Vyakya, a sub-commentary of the Abhidharma Kosha Bhashya to complete his PhD thesis. Currently, he is translating the first chapter of Abhidharma Kosha Bhashya as translated by Xuanzang for BDK Japan. He reads Chinese, Sanskrit, Pali, Hindi, and French, apart from his own mother tongue, Nepali. Welcome, Ajahn Bibek.
Thank you, Ram. Tiyat Nasaranam to all.
Yes. Our next participant is Bem Mitruev. Bem Mitruev is a translator from the Tibetan language from 1995 to 2005. Bem studied at the Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies in Varanasi in India, where he studied Tibetan history, poetry, Buddhist philosophy, Tibetan language, Sanskrit, and Hindi. Bem received the degree of Acharya, Master of Buddhist Philosophy. He currently works as a translator for the Buddhist teachers who come to Russia to teach. Welcome, Bem.
Good day.
Before we start, maybe I can invite each of you to say a brief refuge prayer. Start with Ajahn Giuliano in Pali, please.
Masakha bhikkave satta kammadayada kammayuni kamabandhu kamapati sarana yankamam karonti kalyanam va papakam va tassadayada bhavanti. Beings are heirs of their Dharma, they are owners of their own Dharma, and whatever they are going to do, they will be the heirs of their own Dharma. Karma. Sorry.
Thank you, Ajahn Giuliano. Ajahn Bibek, please, in Sanskrit, if possible.
Yeah. Buddham cha dharmam cha gadottamam cha yavadhibodhim saranam gatosmi danadipunnaischa kritairmayevir buddho bhaveyam jagato hitaya buddham cha dharmam cha gadottamam cha yavadhibodhim saranam gatosmi दानादिपुन्नैश्च कृतैर्मयेभिर् बुद्धो भवेयं जगतो हिताय बुद्धं च धर्मं च गणोत्तमं च यावद्विबोधिं शरणं गतोऽस्मि दानादिपुन्नैश्च कृतैर्मयेभिर् बुद्धो भवेयं जगतो हिताय. So it is a typical refuse prayer in Mahayana. So the gist is that I take refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, and with the accumulation of merit and so forth, uh, may I attain the complete Buddhahood for the sake of or benefit of all the sentient beings.
Thank you, Ajahn Bibek. To you, Bem, maybe if possible in Tibetan.
Sangye Chudan Zoge Chanan Lai, Chenchu Badu Da Nika Suchi, Take Chensa Kebe Tsunangi, Tola Pinchu Sangye Tuwa Shua, Sangye Chudan Zoge Chanan Lai, Chenchu Badu Da Nika Suchi, Take Chensa Kebe Tsunangi, Tola Pinchu Sangye Tuwa Shua. That was a small stanza taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, the strive to become Buddha for the sake of all of the sentient beings.
Thank you, Bem. It will be interesting if you can find some old refuge prayers composed by some, I would say, I don't know, old or ancient Vajra master from the old Russia, like there were some great masters there. I mean, if you can dig those up, I would be delighted to hear them. It will be very interesting, I would say. Just some my personal thought.
Basically, I didn't think it's possible because Russia is I mean, Russian-speaking citizens of Russia met with Buddhism not so long ago, so I didn't suppose there is some kind of Mangalacharanam or something like that in Russian yet. But maybe I will try to find something. Okay.
Yes, maybe in Buryat or Kalmyk region.
Oh yeah, sure. Maybe next time.
Thank you, Bem.
Thank you.
Okay, so the topic today is about merit and misconceptions. So I will start with a simple thought. So I want to accumulate wealth, right? I think Buddha blesses everyone, and along with health, wealth, prosperity, and all the things, wisdom, etc. But I want to be rich. I'm just take my word for it, at least for this discussion, and maybe literally too, but that's my personal secret. Anyway, so if I go to a temple and I give 50 baht and I ask, dear Buddha, I take refuge in you, please give me 5 million baht. Is that considered making merit, or what is it? Ajahn Giuliano, maybe you have some thoughts about this? Ajahn Giuliano, can you hear us?
I could hear for the last 10 seconds at least.
Okay. I was saying that if I go to the temple and I donate 50 baht to the temple and I ask, Lord Buddha, I take refuge in you, please give me 5 million baht. Is that considered a merit making, or what is it?
Yes, of course. I'm joking, of course. Well, yeah. Okay. I wonder actually, is it really a common misconception about that? So I heard that sometimes, of course, I happen to hear people or even encouraging things like that. But I think sometimes the request for donation maybe is a little more subtle than that. I think, of course, I think you are in a way exaggerating the attitude of giving to obtain. But yeah, in Pali, it is actually one of the not just in this way, but in a little more sophisticated way, it is one of the wrong reasons to give. So it is listed as one of the wrong reasons to give, and there are other ones. It's in a Dana Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya. But yes, maybe I wonder actually which ways, especially nowadays, people are pushed a little bit to give. But yes, the need for a reward is explicitly considered as a mistake, as a wrong view. So yes, I think that maybe this could be one of the perversions that occur in any kind of system of religion or whatever. Not that actually there is an expectation, and I practice in order to have some reward. And if the center of my desires, of my ambitions, is monetary, I think that will be the reason why I go for refuge in a way. So, and therefore I would go to a temple, maybe even without giving. But so whether I give or not, I think there will be a request for happiness, and if happiness for me is a financial success, maybe that would be the way I express that. But yes, to answer briefly, of course, it is listed among the wrong views. There is an interesting list. Now, maybe we can discuss that later. But there is an interesting list I think 3 or 4 suttas. One of them is a Dana Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya, and there are the wrong reasons listed there, and one of them is by hoping for a reward, for attaining more than what you give.
Okay. Thank you, Ajahn Giuliano. Ajahn Bibek, you have something to add?
Yeah, yes. It's an interesting question, Ram. And perhaps I can tell one very short story. I just remembered. So there was one professor, very learned, but not very practical. And then at 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 one stage of his life, he retired, he wanted to own some dogs. So he bought two dogs. One was a big dog and one was very small. Then he wanted to build a small kennel for them. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
very well.
So he wanted to build one small kennel for him. So what he did was, first he built for the bigger dog. He made a bigger hole. I mean the door, and for a small dog he made a small hole. Whereas the small dog could easily go through the bigger door from where the bigger dog would enter. So what I was trying to imply is that if we, according to Buddhism, if we practice, let's say, with an intention that I would like to obtain nirvana, the normal worldly happiness would come to us anyway out of that merit. But if we practice with an intention with a smaller goals, perhaps that is not the right way of practicing Buddhism. What I'm trying to say is there are two parts to this thing. Number one is, as long as we indulge ourselves in the 8 worldly dharmas, we will be within the samsara. So if we are practicing dharma out of some kind of desire to have uh, some kind of benefit in this world, so the merit would be lesser, and it is stained. It is called stained. And so we would not be able to obtain the highest goal of Buddhism, that is obtaining the nirvana, that is getting out of the samsara. But at the same time, within Buddhism there are two concepts. One is abhyudaya and one is nisreyasa. So the meaning of abhyudaya means you do certain practices, you perform dana and so on and so forth, you so that you float up and above in the samsara. You never drown yourself in the lower realms. So that is the meaning of the abhyudaya, that you are always born in a better situation. You have better opportunities for dharma practice. Even when you are born as a human being, you have eight opportune things and 10 benefits to practice dharma, or even and have a better prestige and health and so on and so forth. And then when you do with a kind of negating these eight worldly concerns, then what remains is you are directing all your focus for the nirvana, and then you naturally attain nirvana. But at the same time, while you are traversing the path towards the nirvana, you will be born in a better place, you will have wealth, you will have health, and so on and so forth. So just like that professor, I was giving the analogy of a professor. When you build the bigger door for the dog, the smaller will come itself. It's like you buy one and get one free kind of package. So when you go for a nirvana, your intentions are pure, you will obtain nirvana. At the same time, as a byproduct, you will be born uh, as a human being, as a god. And we can see that from the life of the Buddha too, that he was born several times among the human beings, he was born several times among the devas. He had best of his situation to practice dharma. So I think if we go to a temple and then we desire for these smaller things, we miss the bigger point of Buddhism. That's what I think.
Okay, two things. One is, can you please list the 8 worldly dharmas or 8 worldly concerns, if possible? And then the thing is that is it still meritorious or not, or is it considered neutral, or is it a negative deed in your view?
No, I mean, it is still better than not to give at all. It is still better, but it is concerned. It is uh, considered as stained because it has your other vested interest rather than the main goal and the direction of the main path of Buddhism. So in the eight worldly concerns, you have uh, okay, happiness and its opposite, loss and its opposite. Then you have prestige or opposite, and I forgot. Maybe Ben would be able to
Okay,
enumerate
thank you.
that. Yeah.
Yes, Bem, please.
Oh, so yeah. It's lava alava. So it's
Yes.
gain and loss.
Yes.
Then it's like fame and infame. So it's
Yes.
yasha ayasha. Then it's like praise and non-praise, so degradation, prashamsa and ninda. And then it's of course pleasure and misery, sukha dukkha. So
Yes.
that's what's called 8 worldly dharmas. And if you follow them, then you are not on the way to the liberation. You're just going to be a little bit better off in this world, in this mundane, so to say, mundane level. And your question is quite interesting because, when we talk about merit, quite often we talk about merit in the Christian understanding of that term. And this Christian term was borrowed into the Buddhism, I mean, into English Buddhism, into translate, like a term for translation of the Sanskrit term punya. But when we talk about merit in the Christian context, it means like you do something good, you do something wholesome, and you deserve some reward from the almighty, from the god creator. And in Buddhism we didn't have this kind of idea. It doesn't mean that if you give 50 baht to the Buddha, he will give you back like 500 baht or 5 million baht. It's not like this system of investment of some kind. It's a little bit different. And you do not do your pratna, or you do not pray to the Buddha, please Buddha, I give you an amount and please make it big. It's not the way it works in Buddhism. So basically what we talk about here is a good karma. And when you talk about karma, it means action. You perform a good action, you get a good result. But when we talk about results, there could be different levels of the result. If you just want to be better off in this world, it's one result. Then you just give 50 rupees or 50 baht or $50 to a temple or charity or something, and just sit and wait when the reward, when the fruit will ripen on you. But if you want to be a liberated person, then you need to do it a little bit differently. You have different motivation. And if you want to be a Mahayana practitioner, if you want to be a Bodhisattva or Buddha, it's completely different. You have different motivations. You do whatever you do, any offering, any instance of dana or shila or bhavana, whatever you do it for the sake of all of the beings in this universe, in this world. So that depends, basically it depends on your motivation, on your mind. But if you just want to get rich and exchange 50 baht for 5 million baht, of course it's a merit, but it's very negligible. It's very small, and it will
Yes.
not lead you, it will not lead you to the liberation. It will not lead you to the absolute good.
Well, if I analyze a bit further of this action, maybe it could even cause harm because maybe I end up getting more attachment and craving. Yeah, so and maybe I will end up having vengeance on why didn't Buddha even give me? Maybe I might even lose the trust, right? I mean, that's also the other possibility that could arise. So I'm not sure if it's really purely meritorious or it's I think it's the tendency is can be quite mixed. No, don't you think, Bem?
That's what happens to a lot of people who bring this monotheistic idea to the Buddhism. They think that if they behave themselves, they think that if they give enough money to the charities, to the monks, to the temples, and to every to whatever is considered to be good, they are expecting some reward, and quite often they expect it quite soon, like if not tomorrow, then next week.
Hmm.
And you see, it's not the way it works. When we talk about actions, when we talk about karma and the fruits of karma, some of them can ripen in this life, but some of them will ripen only in the next life, and some of them will ripen in many in the next lifetimes. So if you have this kind of high expectations, most probably you are heading for a frustration. And frustration what leads to people to be kind of angry. They have this anger on Buddha and Dharma and Sangha and everything, and then Buddhism in whole. So I behave myself. I gave up drinking, smoking, and whatever the Buddha said, and I give money all the time, but still I do not have anything good coming in my life. I'm not becoming richer. I do not have any kind of deep insights. I do not have third eye in my forehead. I do not have anything wonderful and amazing. So there is no use, there is no benefit in practicing Buddhism at all. That's what happens quite a lot, actually.
Yes, I have, as we have hosted several great or wonderful speakers on our program here. I remember one time we were discussing about giving, and it's not about Buddha needs 50 baht or $50. It's not about that. It's about our motivation, our intention. So, like how much we give, right? And it's also physical is just one aspect. And there's the so of course, verbal and mental, right? Maybe Ajahn Giuliano, you can touch a little bit more on the roots of merit and what are they, if you can. Of course, I mean, please try to be a little bit more practical because we can read a lot of texts, and at least I can read a lot of texts and not understand much due to my own limitation.
Okay, yes. I think we touched many things, and yeah, punya, of course, merit, the Buddhist usually translated as merit, comes up. I would say, trying to unpack what has been said in so far, that I think it's quite human. I wouldn't say this characteristic is typical of monotheistic or any religion whatsoever. But I think it's typically human that one, in a way, feels a need for of a superior power to take care of our miserable lives and to take care of any problem that we have. This is something like it's quite common to look for someone or something to intervene, to do something in our lives in order to fix what is going wrong or to improve any possible situation. Religions are often apotropic, so that they try to to protect beings from any evil or influx, whatever. So, but I think that this is in a way is something that comes with any possible religion, and we can see that in Buddhism is quite common. I wouldn't say there's an influence from another religion, but I think there's something that is typically human. We know that there is something that transcends our lives, and instead of moving, like in the example of Bibek, instead of looking for the big door, the big gate, in order to really save ourselves, we still look for the small ones, and we still look for hoping that there is a power that will help us in our situations. So this is common, but I think maybe it may need more reflection. Then I understood that we touched at least 3 or 4 crucial Buddhist philosophical tenets, or anyway important grounds. So punya, as you just mentioned, kamma, dana, and whatever else they actually may produce punya. So talking about punya, so I will give the floor to anyone else who wants to say something about that. But talking about punya, I think of there is at least one sutta. So just to clarify maybe a possible misunderstanding, punya is not a bad thing. So it's not what we call as merit. It doesn't mean that we are just aiming at a wrong target, a wrong goal, but it's actually something worthy of pursuing. It's something that one is encouraged to follow. It's not nibbana itself, so it's not the biggest gate, but in a way it is in that direction. So it's like using the same metaphor that Bibek proposed. It's like using quite a larger door, not a completely open space, but quite a larger door in a way, because with punya actually I'm walking in the right direction. There is one of the Metta Suttas wherein the Buddha encourages monks to not to be afraid of punya. So, don't fear punya, and he says that the Buddha himself, when he was a bodhisattva, he practiced metta, so benevolence, for 7 years, I think, and he stayed for I think it was for 7 kalpas in Devaloka, in a divine realm with incredible pleasure and happiness and so on. And he also adds that punya is a synonym of sukha, happiness. So in a way, it's good to move towards, I would say, not the paramount sukha, nibbana, the complete happiness, but even just an ordinary happiness. Of course, being in a Devaloka is not that ordinary, but it says that in a way, still in samsara. So the happiness is samsara. It's not something to be pushed away, rejected. Could be in the line of the process to liberation, to complete liberation. So I wouldn't just I would use a dichotomy between two sharp categories like either the final nibbana, the complete liberation on the one hand, and then there is, I would say, like a perversion of the teachings. No? Of course, there could be a complete misunderstanding, like just giving money, a little money, just to have more money, of course, as you pointed out. And what Bibek mentioned is actually useful as a useful map in this regard. You know, the so-called Lokiya Dhammas, no, the mundane factors. You know, so I may actually it could be labha, alabha, no, obtaining or not obtaining. So of course, if I still try to gain something and I'm afraid of loss, of course I am in a way I'm a kind of prison. My actions are in a kind of prison. Then there is a yasa and ayasa, so there is the fame and the bad reputation. So of course, in this case, for instance, giving a donation to the temple, I will post my donation on Facebook in order to let everyone know that I'm a very generous person who donated a lot of money to all the best Buddhist baths in the world. And then there is the Ninda Pasamsa. There could be, say, blame and praise. So, of course, I'm afraid of being criticized, and I want to be praised by people, and that actually may limitate, the range of my generosity itself, of course, because I see that. So I do that. Maybe I give a donation just because I personally know the abbot of that temple, or maybe because I know that the neighbors would gossip if I don't do that. Whatever, all these things here. So we are vulnerable to critics. And then the last one is Sukha and Dukkha, sorry. So actually, this is quite normal. No, I want to be happier, but this can still be a limit. No, even could be more subtle. But of course, if I go to a temple, we are talking about a temple, by the way, if I act out of fear for suffering and craving for happiness, there is still something that doesn't work well, and that will limit my generosity itself, and maybe will prevent me from experiencing the real kamma vipaka, the real good kamma vipaka, so the real good fruit of my action, in a way, because the intention would be spoiled in many ways. So
Yes.
yes, I don't know if I answered completely what you asked, but
Yeah, I think you have touched very interesting points about like it's not just monotheistic religions that that Bem mentioned about. I think it's like, for example, I live in Thailand, and I see a lot what temples or people here try to do. Of course, I could be misunderstanding, but I see the tendency. I often observe the tendency to make profit from making merit, to earn more, to get some quick or immediate reward. Generally, this is very common, and even it's from my own observation and my interpretation, I even feel that it's even encouraged by the temple. If you donate this much, when you die, you'll go to this paradise. If you donate this much, you will go to this paradise, etc. And then even when I go to the temple and I want to make donation, for example, for roof renovation, they'll have roof tiles there. And I'll say, I'll just put the money in the box and make donation. They'll say, oh, please write your name. They'll put my name on the tile or on the gold leaf. And then it's actually quite a systematic process where it's like encouraged. And if you don't, it's a little bit not common, I would say, here in Thailand. like if you donate a tile, you're supposed to take like a marker, and write your name or your family name or someone's name who you want, who is sick and you want them to be well, or someone who passed away, and then you put money into the box to buy that tile, then you donate the tile to the temple. That's selling the tile to you indirectly, so that's how it's being done here.
If I may add very quickly, Ram, to your point, that was a good point. I would say also on the other side that at least in the monotheistic religions that I know, there is no real encouragement to pray in order to attain anything whatsoever. But prayer is a kind of a purification of the heart. So seeing that, like I pray any god or whoever in order to have something. This is I would say like a let's say popular, but it's not just popular. But I would say it's a part of a religion, but it's not the real goal proposed by that religion. At least not in the religions that I know. I think it's more human than something scriptural in the religion itself. So I would think so the union with God, of course, is not a matter of a reward that I pray in order to be happy and so on. It's not just that. It's not a request. The request is not a central part in no religion that I am aware of.
Okay. Thank you, Ajahn Giuliano. Bem, please wait. I'll go to
I
Ajahn Bibek.
allow myself to disagree.
Yes, please. Ajahn Bibek first. You're muted. Okay, you're unmuted. Please,
Yeah,
Ajahn Bibek, and we'll
okay.
get to Bem.
As far as the scriptures are concerned, let's say what Buddha said about it. Buddha always praised offerings. He said you should give donation and that will bring you happiness. He has said in several suttas, that's for sure. But the benefit out of it depends on three things, right? So there are three aspects, let's say. It depends on to whom you are giving, it depends on the object you are giving, and it depends on your intention. So these three brings the degree of results, what kind of result you are going to obtain. Let's say that you are giving the donation to a Buddha, and or you are giving the donation to an ordinary person. The merit is not going to be the same thing. There will be a difference in merit. And even in Pali Sutta, there is a gradation of what happens to when you give it to Buddha, Pratyeka Buddha, Sravakas, Arhat, and so on and so forth. So the first thing is with what kind of, to whom you are giving. The second thing is what object you give. Let's say you are a millionaire or billionaire, but you are giving $100. So for you, that is peanuts, and the worth of doing that and the result that ensues will not be the same. And the third thing is with the intention. So mostly we talked about intention here. We were saying about the pure or impure intention with the aim for the nirvana or for the worldly dharmas. So these three things determines the outcome of any kind of giving. So when we talk about the intention, now from the Buddhist point of view, first of all, if you don't have correct view about anything, if you don't have drishti, what we call in Tibetan, there are some kind of drishtis which are higher, some are for paths and some other for other things. Now, for even when you are donating, if you have the highest view about these things, that you understand why you are giving this, you are very clear about this, you understand the nature of what you are giving, you understand the nature of the recipient. So if you have this very, very clear view, then the result will be completely different than an ordinary giving. So and then there is another thing, which is the part of the path, the component, that is the samyak sankalpa, the right thought, let's say. So samyak sankalpa has three components, right? So here it is concerned with one very important thing, that is concerned with connected with the path, that is naiskramya, nikamma in Pali. So if you don't have that in your mind, when you are giving, let's say you are giving a donation, you understand the nature of these three: the donation itself, yourself, and your intention and the person you are giving. And then you have a right thought that why you are giving it. Then this is considered the best. This is the your combination of the best and suitable donation, you know. And of course, even when you donate without having these thoughts, this clarity, there will be a result. It is better to give than not to give, as I said earlier. The Buddha always praised giving, and then giving as much as possible, because that will bring happiness. But the degree of happiness and the result that comes depends upon all these different factors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn Bibek. Bem, yes, please.
I think I will not go too deep into the discussion of other religions because I didn't have much knowledge
Thank you.
about that.
Thank you.
But as far as you remember, in any religion, and especially in monotheistic religions, you talk about health and the heaven. And if you do not perform as you're supposed to do, you're not gonna get yourself to the heaven. And one of the parts is summoning and praying to the God, to the Creator, in order to walk along with Him in the heaven. And if you do not pray, if you do not, and you see, that's why I'm saying that this translation, the term itself, merit, was brought from the monotheistic religion, because you have to deserve your place in the heaven besides the God who is walking there. And if you do not pray, if you do not do your if you do not participate in the charity, seems like it's quite hard to get yourself into the heaven. So that's what I'm saying, that it's quite quite monotheistic idea. But you're, of course, you're completely right that it's quite human. And even among the Buddhists, you can see a lot of people who would like to perform this kind of donation or this kind of dana, especially in order to get some kind of special result, like for people who who are close to this person, or in order to ensure his or her uh, better future, so to say. Of course, it's quite human, and I completely agree that yes, a lot of people in Buddhist parts of the world practice this way. But as it was said before, mainly it's intention. And probably all of you know there is a famous story about King Bimbisara, who was performing some act of donation to the Buddha and Sangha, and he was giving profusely a lot of things and food and different items to the Sangha, to the monks, and he was expecting praise. That's one of the 8 worldly dharmas that we were talking. He was expecting a praise from Buddha. He was awaiting Buddha to say that, oh, your giving, your dana is immeasurable and supreme, and etc. But Buddha kept himself silent. He kept silence. And then there was a beggar woman. Of course, you probably know this story. It's quite famous. There was a begging lady who didn't have almost anything, but she was rejoicing in the acts of the Bimbisara king and his retinue, and etc. And she rejoiced so sincerely that when eventually he couldn't keep it in himself, Bimbisara asked directly Buddha, so whose dana, whose giving, whose generosity was the greatest? And he said, and who accumulated the greatest merit? He said that this beggar lady accumulated the same amount or even bigger than you, because she was doing it with with the pure motivation. She was rejoicing in the act of a person. So as it seems to me, even if you didn't have much, if you give it with the right motivation. And in Buddhism, if we talk about liberation, if we talk about moksha, if you give it with the intention to obtain moksha or the Buddhahood for the benefit all of the sentient beings, then it will bring the different result. So basically, what I'm trying to say, it's the motivation that is deciding factor here. And I like the example about the millionaire, Bibek. Thank you very much. Uh, there is also such a small story. Two people tried to help a lady, and one person gave her like say 300 whatever, um, say let's say pounds, and another person gave her just 30, let's say, pounds. And what the idea is, the person who gave 300 had much more, and the person who gave 30 pounds had just 30. That's the difference in the motivation in the act itself, not the amount of money you give, or not the amount of the material goods that you offer to Sangha, temple, or Buddha himself. Though I do not think that Buddha needs anything. I do not think
Well,
that Buddha needs any money.
well,
The difference is in motivation. It would be quite strange if Buddha needed anything at all. Then there is no use, no meaning to become a Buddha or Arahant. If you still need something, you strive and practice Dhamma, you practice eightfold righteous way, and then you again need something. Quite useless.
yes, it seems to me that sometimes I have to ask myself, am I really a Buddhist, or am I what I call uh, earthworldly dharmic follower? Am I following the religion of money and fame, gain, and all these things, or am I really taking refuge in the triple gem, or in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? I really, many times I have to check. It's not easy, because the religion of, say, money and accumulation of wealth it's maybe the most prominent religion in the world without us calling it a religion. This is my view. I don't know. Maybe you could have a different opinion, but the tendency is definitely there. And one time I will share a small story as well. Uh, One time, Pak Rinpoche, one of my great teachers, he said, if you give something to a beggar and you hope something to get something back, from what I understood, of course, my memory is not that good. He said it's like an investment. It's not like really a generosity if you hope to get something back. But if you really wish well for the beggar, you give and you also donate all your merits for the well-being of that beggar. That's maybe closer or better way. I'm not sure if it's the greatest way, but definitely better than looking for things in return. And thank you to I still remember that teaching very well, and I think it's a very very direct and easy. But again, now we look for to survive, right? I mean, I don't know. It's in some countries or in some regions in the world, when in some situation they say, okay, we will lock you up and see if Buddha will come and help you, or your god or whatever will come and help you. We will not give you any food. So um, or so it's the situation is not like direct merit, non-merit. Sometimes I think it's very tricky, but maybe we can discuss about what are the fundamental things that we should kind of remind ourselves. Of course, nirvana, but it's a little bit difficult to communicate this problem when the religion of monetary system is still very strong. How, like, the temple is actually doing encouraging us to write names on tiles and gold plates for donation. I mean, isn't that some sort of, again, okay, it's good, but it's also an encouragement of egoistic tendency, right? Could there be some better ways, and give without having any notion? I mean, it's very difficult. This concept doesn't, I'm not sure even if it really exists maybe we don't see it because it's without notion, right? So what's your view on this, and how should we approach it? And how do you actually approach it in your daily life?
Ram, actually, I would like to say that this notion of writing your name on tiles is outdated. You should shoot a short video and put it on TikTok. That would be much better, and maybe you could get some reward instantly, like many likes and even people transferring money to you. It's outdated. Let's start something new. Let's shoot videos and making donations and etc. Like people do nowadays. They offer some food to beggars. They do something good, but always online, always doing like streaming. That's what fashionable. Buddhists should switch to the new ways to how to say, to make themselves fashionable and obtain more likes and even maybe more money.
Right, right. Thank you, Bem. That's very interesting, high tech, and up to date. Yes, Ajahn Bibek, I'm sure you have many things to say about
Well,
this.
first of all, I think Buddhism, one of the good things about Buddhism is that it does not really promote a very puritanical views, when compared to, let's say, other religions, that it does not really uh, discourage people, even though their intentions are not pure from the beginning. And in fact, if you look at the whole path system, and the way even the Buddha achieved it, who is our model, it takes several lifetimes to achieve what he achieved. That means the path is very long. The path of purification is long. So when we read the discourses of the Buddha, and when we look at the canons, we see that Buddha even allowed some people to take only 2 precepts. He allowed people to take 2 precepts. He allowed people to take 3 precepts, and there were people who wanted to take even. They were not satisfied with uh, the uh, the Vinaya, which has more than 200 uh, rules, but they wanted to take some extra precepts too. What I'm trying to say is that Buddhism accommodates all type of people, right? Because the path is long, our mind is of course disturbed by different factors, and then by the time we walk towards Buddhahood or even Arhathood, it takes a lot of time. So first of all, as far as I can see, Buddhism, it does not have that very puritanical view that if you cannot perform something, you have to feel guilty. I think it is really not there. So I would still praise any kind of uh, donations or any kind of this kind of dana, because even when we do prayers, for example, I can for example, when we are doing the 7 limb prayer, for example, which is considered one of the a very normal thing to do in Mahayana. So when you are doing the anumodana, or when you are rejoicing uh, the merits done by yourself and others, what you say is you rejoice the merit performed by the Buddha, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Arhats, and all. Then you also praise the merit earned by ordinary beings. What does this ordinary being means? He or she will not be able to perform the same degree of purity as compared to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or those who are in a higher uh, ground of the path, even if they haven't attained the Aryahood, or let's say the Srotapanna, or the first Bhumi, first ground of Bodhisattva path, but still their meritorious things are praised. So what I'm trying to say is that we could just refrain doing that in Buddhism. We could just say that no, we will praise only the Buddha, because even the Pratyeka Buddha have some, let's say from Mahayana point of view, Pratyeka Buddha have some kind of impurities in the mind, and lesser beings have, you know, uh, more impurities in the mind. So let's not praise them. Let's praise only the Buddha. But that tendency in Buddhism is not just there. So we praise the Buddha as well as anything positive done by any sentient beings. So we do that. But of course, it is always ideal to perform these things properly, with proper view, proper intention, understanding what we are doing, and the result as well. That is always the ideal situation. But at the same time, I would still encourage anyone doing anything positive. So in Mahayana, there is a kind of saying that yet kinchit. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Bibek.
Yes, very well.
Yeah. Okay. Yet kinchit subhasitam sarvatat tad buddha bhasitam. That's what it is said in a kind of a small phrase. It is said, whatever good has been done in this world, whatever good is there, it is actually said by the Buddha. So what does this mean? It just means that anything positive is a positive thing in Buddhism, right? So this is how I see, even for the donations, even if it is for the very practical reasons that you want some kind of immediate reward. It is not encouraged in Buddhism. That is not the way to do it. We are not using the same thing for the maximum that we could obtain, but still it is praise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn Bibek. Again, I'm thinking, since rejoicing is, I think, very easy things to do, um, uh, can we actually? I mean, I believe we can, but maybe you can clarify it more. Can we actually accumulate infinite, or like great or greatest amount of merit through just rejoicing? Since we all share, we will share, right? So can we just simply do that mentally? um, uh, is it possible? And I mean, is it even possible at all, or is it just now it's just an act, or can we really earn limitless merit by just rejoicing mentally? And what do you think about that? And not doing much, physically and verbally, for example. Ajahn Giuliano, please.
I'm not sure I understood your question. I think that we if I understand correctly, I would be aware of the fact that punya itself is impermanent, is limited. So the ideal path is not by accumulating punya as much as possible, but eventually one has to do what is necessary to end the samsara, not to perpetuate samsara as a happy samsara. That's not reliable. It's not a reliable practice. I do agree with Vivek on the fact that motivations are mixed most of the time, and this is not bad. It's not seen as a bad thing in Buddhism. So, for instance, when I mentioned before that there are I would say different ways of being generous, and all of them are flawed. In several aspects, like donating something because I'll get this, I will get that because they will know, and so they will give me back whatever, or they will like me. No, this is one. This of course are aspects that one has to be mindful about. But on the other hand, they are not depicted as bad things. So what the Buddha says in this sutta here is that there are these ways of practicing dana. Of course, this is a way to say, okay, be aware of them, because of course you need to do better. But on the other hand, this is quite possible. And there are subtle things like chittalankara, to beautify the mind. Well, it's quite difficult not to have the idea that by giving I'm becoming a better person. It's not something that one can easily smash away, like something that I want to do because I just want to do that for the sake of dana itself. So there are mixed and mixed motivations, and this is it's good that there are mixed, and also there are in Buddhism there are dimensions called that we may translate as heavens and hell, and the Buddha mentions them, I think, in a way that scares people. So I think that in Maya, especially Mahayana Buddhism, that will be called as a upaya. No, there are skillful means. No, of course, fear is not the best motivation, but it can be useful, very useful. If I am afraid of the things that I should be afraid of, it's good. So, in the Pali Suttas, the Buddha describes many times the all the sufferings of niraya, hell. No, sometimes it says in the Balapandita Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, for instance, says that even 300 spears pierced in the body cannot be compared to the suffering, to the pain that you experience once you are in niraya, in a niraya. No, so of course these are things that can be, in a way, can be seen as encouraging a lower grade of motivation. It can be possible, but this is not to be discarded, because I don't act immediately with a pure motivation. If I had a pure motivation, I don't need the motivation at all, to use a paradox. Because if the mind is completely pure in order to have a pure motivation, well, that's the goal. That's the a completely pure mind that doesn't even have to do anything at all. So if I need to do something, if I need to be generous, if I need to do some karma, some good karma, of course, that will be mixed. The motivation will be mixed with all the kilesas, the defilements that are in me. And I will work with this, with this, I would say, with this doubt of good and bad motivations, and I think gradually one can make them work as good as possible. So yes, I'm quite on the same page with Bibek on that. So I wouldn't divide between Puritarian regions, whatever. But I would say there could be a Puritarian approach, even in Buddhism. There could be a Puritarian approach, like to say, okay, I just want the asankata Dhamma, the unconditioned Dhamma, and anything else is just tainted and is not for me. Well, that's a good motivation, but I need to deal with the kilesas that abide my mind. And in order to do that, I think one should compromise is not a good word, but I think I should do as good as possible with what is the karma vipaka that I am facing now. No, I can invent myself as a different person.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Achan Giuliano. Bem, yes, about the technology. I mean, you're muted. So anyway, about the technology, yeah, in Thailand, some temples have started issuing digital tokens for donations. So they are not the person doing the merit is getting advanced. Even the temples are getting very advanced here. They're issuing like NFTs, like unique.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Let's make token banks, like merit token banks. And then I will say something, Ram, I have 3,000 tokens on my account. And you have
Yes,
much, much less. You see how better person, how better Buddhist I am.
yes,
And
and
you're reminding me, if you go to Bodh Gaya, I think all of you visited Bodh Gaya, yeah? If you go
yes,
to the main temple, you will see the big, huge railing around the temple. And it's not original, it's a copy. But even though it's copy, it's very well made copy. It's kind of estampage. So it was made like complete copy of the railing, and now part of the railing are in different museums in India and abroad. But that's not what I'm talking about.
And there is a place, there is a small different, at least two or three writings on the railing in Brahmi script, and one of them is saying, "Ayaya kuramge danam." So Ayai was a lady, and it seems like she donated some money in order to put a part of this railing in Bodh Gaya. So it's not something new. It's being here in Buddhism for centuries and centuries, much before Buddhism came to some different countries. But what I'm saying here is, it's of course a joke. I'm joking, and of course I'm not saying that it's not good to do something like practice dana or practice generosity in some way. But what I'm saying, there are more, mm, more, how to say, uh,
More depth.
productive ways to practice
Okay.
merit, and less productive. And if you have some resources, probably it's better if you use them in the more productive way. But if you are not able, if you are not too good Buddhist, and I'm not trying to make anybody guilty, but if you are not too special and do not have this ability to practice it properly, of course I'm joking, of course that's what you were talking about making people, it's not a puritanic idea at all. Of course there is no such notion of making somebody nervous or guilty, like if you're not
Mm,
so good Buddhist, so you could practice of course your dana in a less productive way. But that's what the idea is, that if if you can do something, do it. But if you can do it better, then do it
mm.
better. There is
Yes.
no pressure, but it's just clever use of resources. Mhm.
What about the on the point of rejoicing? Can we earn unlimited amount of merits? Because I believe in the I'm pretty sure in the Mahayana, it's an essential part, accumulations of merit and wisdom. So can we just rejoice in what all the great beings, all bodhisattvas, all Buddhas, all the Prajaka Buddhas, all sentient beings do, and just rejoice, and that way we can accumulate endless or infinite merit. Is what I'm saying correct, or is it inaccurate
You know,
in your
Ram,
view?
that's what scares me a lot in Buddhism. All these countless, immeasurable, everything is countless, everything is immeasurable Buddhists, immeasurable sentient beings, immeasurable love and compassion, immeasurable, immeasurable merit. I'm a human being. I'm a small, quite useless and powerless human being. I just try to do whatever I can. And when we start talking about immeasurable merit, it scares me because if you when they say that if you, for example, rejoice in somebody's deeds, you said, you sounded like it's is a practice. I'm gonna tell you that it's not quite easy in this world of modern competition. When somebody is uh, doing better than you, it's quite hard to rejoice in anything at all. For example, if somebody who is of the same stand as me tomorrow uh, becomes a director of an institution or becomes a Nobel Prize winner or something else, the first thought in a usual, in a common, in a normal human being would be, why not me? I am the same. I am better. I'm more handsome. Why this person, not me? And it's not so easy to be sincerely rejoicing in somebody's merit, or when somebody gives money or donation to a temple, to a society, or anything at all.
Hmm,
What people
hmm,
start to talk, what they say first, oh, he's trying to evade taxation, or he's showing off, or he's getting some. That's what people talk about, you see, and it underlines our human nature. It's not so easy to be sincerely rejoicing anything at all. Even if your neighbor has a car better than yours, it's quite difficult to rejoice in it. So, but basically, yes, it is said that if you rejoice in the merit that is accumulated by innumerable sentient beings, then supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly because I'm not sure in this, but supposedly you accumulate the same amount of merit. So, like one one endless quantity is equal to the another endless quantity, something like that.
Yes, I think the thing is that in my own simple-mindedness thinking, or I would say, or twisted way of thinking, I think if I can rejoice, it requires some level of letting go to be able to be a bit open. Even I might be pretending to rejoice in Buddha's deed. Of course, I take refuge in the Buddha without doubt. Of course, doubt. Will Buddha help me when I'm sick? Okay, okay, that's small doubts here and there. Of course, I have to train my mind, etc. But from my mundane way of thinking, I think to just rejoice, it requires some openness. That's what I believe. To be able to even acknowledge that somebody else does some other beings does some good somewhere. I think that's already small open, at least a small opening. That's my view. And so now we will get back to Bibek. I think you have something to say about this rejoicing. And also, I want to ask all of you to think about, let's say, okay, if I go to the temple and I give 50 baht and I ask for 5 million, let's say, okay, this is something we'll discuss after this question to Vivek about rejoicing. Then what can be a small change that I can tell myself maybe at the end of the 5 million requests that may I become a bit wiser from this as well, or to make it tune it to be more wholesome. Maybe you can give some tip or personal idea. Okay, to you, Vivek.
Yes, as far as rejoicing is concerned, that is one of the ways the Buddha said. These are upayas, or skill in means to earn merit. So someone is donating something, or someone has acted in a very good way, lofty way, according to the path. Someone has a very generous mind, or anything good in this world. If you rejoice, then it is said that you earn an equal merit. You earn an equal merit in your mental continuum. So this is one of the ways that the Buddha said, and that's why it is integrated within the prayers and path system of Buddhism. At least the Mahayana Buddhism that I'm familiar with, that we pray the 7 limb prayers, in which there is one which is called Anumodana. You rejoice all the excellent things done by Buddhas, beginning with the Buddha. Okay, so and then we know that every aspect of the path, everything we do, is in order to gain the realization of no self. So we do everything so that we understand that there was no self that we were very attached to, or grasping. And while
Or to
rejoicing,
go beyond duality, right?
well, when you are saying no self, it is in a way, yes, of course, that is the ultimate aim. So you not only realize that there was no self in the 5 skandhas, but then you go beyond that. Of course, that is the better or a deeper meaning of no self. So this is in a way easy way actually taught by the Buddha, because sometimes you might not have means to perform very good acts, you might not have courage to do that, you might not have resources to do that, but if you can at least rejoice, you could earn the merit. So I think that is one of the positive things about it. And as far as what was the second question, Ram, that you were adding about the 50 baht, right?
Yeah,
You give.
yeah, 50 baht, and I asked for 5 million. Is there maybe a small sentence I can add it at the end in my mind
So
to
imagine,
tune it nice in a nicer way?
yes, first of all, I would still praise it, because the person at least has this this faint notion that you have to give something. Why would a person go to a temple and give? At least he has some idea that if I do that, there is a way. There is a way to become rich, or happier or something. So at least he has entered the path. So to make it better, as I said earlier, I would give the analogy of the same professor who was building the bigger door and smaller door. So if we can bring to our mind anything better than the idea of self-cherishing, or the idea of anything better for me. For example, if we could think about, if I gain, let's say, 5 million, then I will give 1 million to to some charity or something. Perhaps that would add to the value. That would make it better, right? So there are many ways you can do it. You can play with your mind and then slowly make your vows or make your wishes better and better and more selfless. And there is another way also, perhaps, for us who are familiar with the modern psychology, for example. So modern psychology says that those people who give donations, who have an altruistic mind, are happier people than those people who do not. And of course, happier people, normally their mind functions better, their body functions better, and they can perform better in this world. So that is perhaps another way you can add to the value. But as a Buddhist, I would always say that if we think about the faults of the samsara, anything we do in this samsara is not going to earn anything happy or pleasurable eventually. That it is better to go out of the samsara if we perform these things with this kind of ideas. Perhaps that is the best one.
Thank you. Giuliano, please.
Yeah. Yes, I think that maybe still in the case that one has to spend this 50 baht and expecting some good reward out of that, I think I would maybe encourage a twofold reflection. So where the money goes, now what's the benefit, what the donation can do to others and to oneself. So, and to others, I would think of a donation as a way um, to sustain the spiritual practice of monks. So those who are devoting their own life to the highest goal. And this is a beautiful thing by itself. So actually, I'm giving something to those that are renouncing to anything, things they are not renouncing to, because I'm still living a lay life. But there are those who are renouncing as much as possible, and I want to sustain them in their path to nibbana, to the highest goal, to liberation. So this is one thing, the external motivation that I would encourage in order to challenge the bad motivation, what we define as a bad motivation. The other one would be an inner motivation. So like to challenge one's greed. So of course, I know that I don't want to give. I know that. In Pali, there is a term, vosagga, which is in a way letting go, liberality. It means renunciation and generosity at the same time. So in a way, I free myself by giving. No, it's a little bit like what Bibek said about the self. No, I challenge a selfish drive by doing something opposite to what the self wants to do. The self wants to protect itself, wants to accumulate, and so on. But I'm just trying to do something that challenges that viewpoint. And so I will give in order to relax that, to let go of greed, and to feel better, because of course I will just drop a burden, a heavy luggage that I'm bringing with myself, which is, sorry for the language, full of crap.
Thank you, Giuliano. I think that's very, very quite practical. Bem, since
I have a remark and a story. Remark.
Okay, please.
So when we were talking about getting money, like investing 50 baht and obtaining 5 million, you were talking probably about the dedication, so-called dedication, or in Sanskrit we call it parinama. So this is the direction that you give to your merit. Because if you just accumulate merit and do not give it the proper direction, then probably it will not give the result or fruit you wish to obtain. So that's what we call dedication. For example, if you dedicate your merit in order to obtain Buddhahood or Arhathood or anything at all, that's what we call dedication. So whatever amount of the merit you have accumulated, you dedicate it or direct it to towards a special goal. That's what we call dedication. And now talking about the dana to the monks, to the monks community, there is this story. So in Tibetan temples, in Tibetan prayer gatherings, when monks do some Buddhist service, so when they do some prayers in Tibet, in the beginning of the session, they would repeat the Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra, the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita. And the reason why they do it, because whoever offered something not always have the pure motivation and dedicate the merit accumulated, so not for the good reason. And there is a story of a person who offered something, some money and some food to the to the gathering, or to the community of 500 monks. And this person prayed that may in the next life, by the power of this dana, of this generosity of giving, may they be reborn as 500 bulls who will belong to me and will work for me next life. So in order to for such prayers or dedication not to take place in reality, usually in Tibetan temples they perform they pronounce, or they read the Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra in order to make safe that this kind of dedication are avoided, or not happen in reality. So that's again brings us back to the motivation. That's what that's what we dedicate, or that's what we direct to, is very important. That's why in the Mahayana text it is said that wherever you do some merit, wherever you do some uh, uh, meritorious action or deed, you need to dedicate this merit accumulated, so for a good cause. For example, obtaining human body in the next life, or becoming a arahanto, srotrapanda, or whatever. Or can you hear me? Okay. Or to becoming a Buddha, and so. And in the Mahayana text, it is also said that if you dedicate your merit for the benefit of all of the human beings, oh, I'm sorry, not human, sentient beings, and limitless quantity or limitless number of sentient beings, the merit, whatever small merit you have accumulated, even 50 baht, it will become inexhaustible until you become enlightened. It will be mixed with the merit of all of the human sentient beings, and it will become inexhaustible because it will be part of a numberless or limitless amount of the merit accumulated by all the sentient beings. So if you do your good deed, your bid, and offer 50 baht, then perform a good dedication. Probably it will work, but
Yeah.
maybe not this life.
So my question is this: hypothetically, of course, if there are, for example, two persons, maybe Bibek and Bem, and then I come to you, and let's assume I have some alcohol addiction, and Bibek, please give me some money. I really need, I really suffering from this lack of alcohol. Can you give me some money to give? And Bibek say, okay, here's your 50 baht. Please try to reduce your alcohol consumption, etc., etc. Okay. Then I come to you, Bem, and you say, no, I'll never give you anything. Alcohol is bad for you. We should start right now. So both actions are both of you are correct, right? And of course, Otan Giuliano is observing all this happening. Both of you are, I believe, correct. So which one is more correct, or it doesn't matter? It depends on more the motivation, like you just said.
Come on, Ram. Why am I'm the bad policeman in this uh in
You
this
are the
scene?
perfect
Why
policeman.
Bibek is a good policeman? I am the bad policeman. Of course, I would say to you, of course, I give you money, drink yourself to death. No problem. Who cares?
Oh,
I'm a Buddhist. I know that eventually something good will happen to you. Well, of course, that's what where we come to the wisdom. And it's quite strong in the Tibetan Buddhism, in the Mahayana tradition. You need to exercise your wisdom. And as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, all of us, at least in this in this place, in this discussion, all of us human beings, and we have our human intellect, and we need to exercise it at least sometimes. And whenever you give money, it's better try to check or observe to whom you're giving money, because nowadays it seems to me that there are a lot of some foundations and organizations and institutions who happily accept money, but what they I'm sorry, what they spend it for, not quite clear. Of course, it's better if you can, if it's possible, better if you check. And being a Buddhist, maybe check twice what your money are spent for. And in this example that you brought to right now about a person who is asking money for, let's say, alcohol or drugs, or for a gun in order to go to the immediate neighborhood and shoot somebody, of course you need to think twice. Is it good? Would be wise to do it. That's why we say about two major aspects of Buddhist practice: method, and under method we mean like shila and dana and bhavana and etc., and wisdom. Because whatever you do, you need to direct with your wisdom, with your understanding, like insight, because otherwise p- I think it's a bit even dangerous, and quite in many cases it's quite futile.
yes. Okay. Ajahn Vivek, you want to respond to this? Something to add?
Well, maybe Giuliano wants to say something.
Yes, Ajahn Giuliano, please.
Why do you think that I want to say something, Bibek?
No, because, well, I thought it was your turn, but if you want me to say, then I would first complete it. That's fine.
No problem, as you prefer.
Okay. So I think even not being a Buddhist, even being an ordinary person with some concern from other people, I think that person would never give even a single penny to the baker who would spend his money for alcoholism, because that is just not a very thoughtful things to do. From the Buddhist point of view, of course, it is considered as a stupid compassion. So there's an intelligent compassion and there's a stupid compassion. So you have you kind of have an altruistic mind, but if you cannot think through, and you cannot at least calculate the result of such action, then it could be disastrous. For example, you think that you are doing something good, but the result could be very, very destructive, as in the case of the baker. So that is, of course, not recommended. So one should be a bit thoughtful while giving, of course, more than thoughtful, because as I said before, we should have a very clear view why we are doing certain things and what would be the result of these things. So Buddha clearly said in many instances that things should be analyzed, it should be thought out, and all the actions that we do from body, speech, and mind should be in line with the Dharma. That should be beneficial. Which means that should be beneficial to self and others, right? So maybe it is a little beneficial to the person who gives some money to the beggar who would spend the money for alcohol, but you are actually destroying that person. Not only that person, perhaps that person has some family members, dependents, and those who love him or her. They would be disheartened. They will suffer, right? So you are actually causing more suffering for that person, of course, because if someone drowns himself in alcoholism, that person is generating all kinds of moha or delusion in the mind. The moha will increase, and what is the result of the moha? That person will go to the lower realms, animal, pretas, and so on and so forth. So actually, you are generating the cause. You are the cause of generating the cause for that person to go towards the hell.
Actually,
So when
yes and no. I will. I mean, I'll give you, of course, hypothetical. Let's say I go crazy without getting the alcohol and I commit suicide, which is you are also one of the cause for that, right? Partial cause. So I'm not sure if it's. I think there's a matter of, like Bem said, wisdom, right? I mean, so I don't think there's a clear cut in this aspect. In my view, of course, I'm not a.
okay,
I don't have
I can
any
give you
clairvoyance.
so when we were small, or even sometimes people, when we did not finish your food on our plates, and we were told that okay, the people in this and this continent are dying because of not having the food, so you eat your food. There is no connection from the point of view of a karma.
And
There
then
is
you
no
end up getting
connection that
diabetes and all other sickness. Sometimes that happens, right? So
so you are there is no from the point of purely from the point of view of the karma as told by the Buddha. There is no connection at all between what you leave in your plate and those people starving somewhere else thousands of miles away. uh, so I can relate the same thing to what you just said. Uh, i can i can have the consequence only of my actions, not something that I have never done, right? So not performing action, uh, especially in this case, would not make me the cause for that kind of action, right? Even when I'm giving that money to that person, it is possible that he would die uh, because of taking heavy alcohol. These are hypothetical, of course, but at least from the ordinary point of view, because I don't have a clairvoyance and the divine eye to see the things, as an ordinary practitioner, as an ordinary person, what I can do is uh, be careful about my intentions and what the consequence of my actions. That is the limit we have, and that is within us. That is within what we can do. But beyond that, what will happen to other parts of the world if there are famines and so on and so forth, that does not come under what I am doing right now, or it does not depend on my actions. Right. Thank you.
thank you, Ajahn Bibek. Ajahn Giuliano, I'm sure you have lots of things to say about this.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot the topic, and I would agree. I don't think that there is a clear-cut universal answer. No, giving or giving money for alcohol. I think it depends on the specific situation, and there could be so many variants that we don't know it all. No, I can give if I don't give, maybe the beggar commits suicide. If I give, maybe the beggar is inspired by the act of generosity and changes completely his life. Maybe stops drinking completely. Yeah, we don't know. No? There are so many things in play. It reminded me of a story that I heard in school. There was a schoolmate, for instance, that once he was caught smoking by his father, The father saw him, he was smoking, and was smoking a cigarette, and the father forced him to finish the cigarette, rather than say, no, you don't smoke, no, that's bad for your lungs and whatever. He said, no, now you finish your cigarette. And he was very young, he was a kid, and he finished the cigarette. He was disgusted and never wanted to smoke again. And actually, he still is now in his late 50s, and he's still a no-smoker. So in a way, it worked. So it's very difficult to know what actually works. So there are so many variants, moment to moment, and I think the example works because that was a father, so somebody who knows well the person that you are giving or doing something for. So if I know the beggar, maybe I can do something that works for the beggar. If I don't know the beggar, I have no idea what happens if I give the money or if I don't give the money. So it's a hypothetical situation that without any other specifics, actually, there's no universal answer, I think.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Giuliano. You cannot take those examples to its limitations to the extreme. Of course, you cannot check everything with the beggar. It would be quite strange if you come to beggar and ask for his documents and ask him to lead yourself to his house and talk to his wife and children and ask about income and etc. Of course, it's not clever and it's not possible. And if you try to stretch any example to that limitation, it will fail. Of course, it's not possible. But I would like to tell you, if a person comes to you and asks simultaneously for some soap and rope, ask him twice what he needs it for. Seems like you didn't understand my analogy.
I didn't.
So when a person is going to commit suicide, this person needs rope and some soap in order to make this rope more how to say.
Yes.
That's and if a person comes to you and asks for these two things, probably you need to ask. Of course, it's not necessary to ask for his medical record and ask have he ever been or she ever been to our mental institution and etc. But just be aware, and it's always it's always good to try to see a little bit further than we usually do, one or two steps forward, and it prevents a lot of things that could happen and would not be so pleasant and good. But of course, that's what I want to say. You cannot stretch the examples to beyond the limitations. It's
Maybe
just
the person with the rope is saving the life of someone. Maybe it's throwing the rope to someone to save
yes,
their
of
life.
course,
Yeah,
of
so
course, that's
it could be a
possible.
fireman.
If I
Or
recall, yes.
or maybe a suicide. It's also could be.
Yeah, could be either one. Yeah.
If I could recall some of the great teachings, and I believe, if I recall correctly, there's the two things. One is the compassion, and one is the wisdom. And the metaphor for, or the equivalent of compassion, is like having the legs to walk, and the wisdom is like having the eye to see. So it's like one really need both. Well, of course, one cannot have the ultimate compassion nor the ultimate wisdom, like myself, for example. So I think the key is to, of course, try to follow some Buddha's teachings and some great masters' footsteps, right? So I think the generosity or making merit is not only about also just giving or not giving, action and non-action. It can also be verbal, right? Speak kind words, and also mental, right? So would it be fair to, I'm not sure if this is a common teaching about the 10 virtuous and non-virtuous action. I'm not sure if it's common among all schools, or maybe you guys can share your knowledge about this, if it's common in I don't know, in Theravada school. Are you aware of this, Ajahn Giuliano?
I'm not sure. Could you repeat briefly the last part, just to be...
The 10 virtuous and non-virtuous actions, like of body, speech, and mind, like 3 of the body, 4 of the speech, and 3 of the mind, something like that. Yeah.
10. I don't remember. At this moment, I don't remember a list of 10 actually. So I should check, but I don't remember.
Okay. Bem and Vivek, you have.
Yeah. When you talk about the virtuous action, they say dasha kuchala karma. Oh, karma, no difference. So 10 virtuous actions, 3 actions of body, 4 actions of speech, and 3 actions of mind.
Exactly.
And it's 3 actions of body. It's like no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. When you talk about 4 actions, non-virtuous actions of speech, it's like divisive speech, harsh talk, gossip, and meaningless speech. And when you talk about the 4 actions of the mind or mental actions, it's like wishing for something that doesn't, avarice. Avarice, it means wishing for something that doesn't belong to you. It's wrong views. And it's also wish to hurt somebody, to inflict some hurt on, or hurt somebody. So those are 10 actions. And usually they say that in order to perform the virtuous action, you need to perform 10 opposite actions, not just to stop. Because, for example, if I do not kill, it doesn't mean that I'm performing a virtuous action. It doesn't mean that I accumulate merit, because I just do not do anything. If I do not kill right now somebody, it doesn't mean that I'm performing a good action. And if I give myself promise or some kind of vow, or I have this mental attitude not ever to kill somebody, or kill some animal or some sentient being, that's different. That's the opposite, not just not doing so. And we were talking about karma, and when you talk about punya karma or kushala karma, there is akushala karma, but there is also third division of that karma. When you talk about karma, there is also called karma of aninja karma. It means non-movable, not moving, or immovable action. And this immovable action, this kind of karma, leads you to the form and formless rupa and arupa dhatu, form and formless realm. So that's again, when you perform an action, quite often it depends on your motivation. But in this case, with the immovable karma, if you meditate and get yourself to the high level of meditational stabilization, then it becomes action that leads you to be reborn in the higher realms like rupa and arupa dhatu.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I think we have to pretty much conclude. We went over time actually, so maybe Ajahn Bibek, would you like to add a few things and before we end, just briefly, please?
Yes. Well, I think as far as the conclusion is concerned, for me, dana, as the Buddha said, is the entrance for all sorts of practices and all sorts of happiness. So without dana, because it is easier compared to the precepts and other things, it is encouraged at the beginning. Let's say there is no such thing as beginner's end, but at least in a linear path, someone performs dana, then earns some kind of merit, and then he or she can further tread in the path. It will be easier. So it's an entrance to all sorts of practices and all sorts of happiness, right? So I would say every kind of donation, every kind of performance of offering is good, If we can maintain the clear view and the motivation, it is much better. Of course, that is the highest kind of dana that we are supposed to perform in Buddhism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn Bibek. Now, Ajahn Giuliano.
Yeah, I think that I just agree with Bibek. So I think of, simply speaking, the famous Dhammapada stanza, no? Sabbava Passakarana Kusalasso Pasampadasa Chitta Paridapana Etam Buddhana Sasanam. So not doing what is bad, doing what is good, and purifying the mind. So this reassumes everything, I think. No? That we if we just let go of our greed and we give just because giving is good in itself, and purify our mind, and therefore we are not just stuck in a mere act of generosity, but we are also purifying the mind. I think that makes the giving as a very precious action.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, Bem.
yeah. I just wanted to say that two summaries by Giuliano and Bibek were so good that I do not have anything to add to it. I just remember that probably it would be also good to keep in mind that when we talk about dana as one of the major methods or instruments to accumulate merit, it's always good to keep in mind, and this, as they say in Mahayana text, that when you giving doesn't mean only giving of the material things. It also could be giving of love. It also could be giving of protection, or as they say in Tibetan Buddhism, fearlessness. So protecting somebody from fear or from the danger, and of course it's giving or generosity in Dharma, and the highest generosity or highest dana of all of them. And it's probably always could be very good to keep in mind that not only money, not only the material thing that could be given as the reason, as the basis, as the uh, basis for the accumulation of merit.
Yes. So from listening, maybe if I may try to conclude. Of course, if you don't agree, we will take it. We'll have to take it to the next time. We will continue on this topic again. I think maybe we can conclude that whatever we do, if it reduces our self-clinging, that is a good thing, isn't it? And whatever we do, if it increases self-clinging, then it's questionable or maybe not so good.
And helps others, of course.
Yes. And so maybe on that note, we will conclude. But before we conclude, I would like to thank all of you and all the audience for doing all these good listening, speaking, sharing, listening together. Even though you haven't, you have been just listening as audience, or it means a lot. And I also rejoice in your good actions. I believe you have pure motivation. And I thank you, all your speakers here, for spending time, for taking time from other activities to share your knowledge and, I believe, wisdom. And next time we will maybe perhaps go into more detail of a little bit more formal definition, not so much, just a little bit more, and some textual references a little bit, and then of course we'll focus more on the practical side. I hope to discuss more about this merit, virtue, kusala, akusala, and various other things, roots of merits, etc., etc. I think that this could be quite profound. So on that note, I will. There are some announcements about upcoming events. So let me make those. There'll be a guided meditation by Patricia Schneider on 12th of June, Kuala Lumpur time, 8 p.m. So this is again a guided meditation session. So now we will conclude. May I invite Ajahn Giuliano to say concluding dedication prayer, and then we will follow by the others. Thank you.
Sukho viveko tuttassa sutta dhammassa passatu avyapajjam sukham loke panham buddhe sosamyamo sukha viragata loke kamanam samatikkamo asmi manassa yovina yo etam ve paramam sukham. Not greed, not craving is good. Not harming anyone is good, but the highest good is letting go of the presumption I am.
Thank you, Ajahn Giuliano. Ajahn Bibek, please.
Yes. Anena punnena tu sarvadarशिताम् अवाप्य निर्जित्य च दोषविद्विषः जरारुजा मृत्युमहोर्मिसङ्कुलात् समुद्धरेयं भवसागरात् जगत्. So this is a prayer by Arya Shura, and it's a not prayer but a dedication prayer, and it says, by this merit earned, may I attain the omniscience, may I remove all the afflictions which are the enemies, and then may I rescue all the sentient beings from the ocean of samsara, which is turbulent with all sorts of suffering, such as death, old age, sickness, and so forth.
This kind of dedication are
such as death, old age, sickness, and so forth.
This kind of dedication are
such as death, old age, sickness, and so forth.
Yes, Bem.
Jamba Pava Jidar Kimbo Dan Kunto Sambo Tuyan Dejunda Didan Kuge Jaza Dalo Chekaba Dida Tanjera Tu.
So basically, it says that may I practice as Bodhisattva Manjushri and Bodhisattva Samanthavada did in the previous times, so that I could emulate their example. Thank you.
Thank you, Bem. So I will say the 4 great vows. Sentient beings are numberless, we vow to save them all. Delusions are endless, we vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite, we vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable, we vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.